OTAs, check. Minicamp, check. Training camp is just a month away. And then the first game of the season is here. We're really getting there, folks. I don't like to wish the summer away or anything, but football season is objectively the best time of the year. So with Cowboys minicamp wrapping up in Frisco, I wanted to take a look at some players that stood out during those practices and guys that we could see stepping up when the Cowboys head to California for training camp, and then eventually maybe making a splash when Dallas heads to Philadelphia for week 1 of the NFL season. So let's get into the video. The first guy that I wanted to talk about was Miles Sanders. I know I talked about him with Vach and Foots a couple of weeks ago, but I think everyone going into OTAs, into minicamp, kind of assumed that Javonte Williams was going to be the number one guy. He was the RB1, and I can't really figure out why that was the case. I guess because Williams was maybe signed first, or because he can pass protect, he can do some things as a pass catcher. But I always had this feeling that that wasn't how the running back room was going to play out. And based on reports that we've seen so far, I think Miles Sanders might be the lead back right now for this team. But let me say this first. Whoever wins that running back job, it's going to matter. A lot of people were talking about how much the backs have been involved in these practices, especially in the passing game, especially down in the red zone passing game. And now that I think about it, McCarthy really did just kind of forget that Dallas had guys that could catch the ball out of the backfield. And unless it was like a hot read or Dak was in trouble or just a little swing pass out of the backfield, those guys really weren't that involved in the passing game, especially Rico Dowdle, just kind of, turn around inside zone, hand it off. But so far with Brian Schottenheimer as the offensive coordinator and head coach, we've heard about Sanders and Jaden Blue being guys that have been used as pass catchers on really any part of the field, but especially in the red zone. Now, maybe we'll see more of that when the season rolls around, because I think Sanders and Blue, especially Jaden Blue, if you can get those guys the ball quick, get them out in space, get some blockers out there, you might be cooking up some big plays. So I'm interested to see how this ground game continues to develop, how Miles Sanders does when we get to training camp, and ultimately who wins that starting job. And then the bigger question, who's the running back two? What kind of skill set are they really looking for in their backs? But apparently, out of all the guys, I don't know if this is including Jaden Blue or not, but Sanders has been said to have had the most juice of any of the running backs out there. The most notable spring in their step, and we're really just going to have to probably wait until training camp to really see if that holds up, if that's true. Just looking and watching these guys in shorts and t-shirts can be quite different from what we see from the minimal contact even in Oxnard, but at least they're out there in helmets and shoulder pads. But right now, for me at least, it seems like Sanders is the favorite at this point. And I've been saying this all offseason long about the Cowboys for years now. Please let the best man win. This Cowboys team, organization, whoever it is, for too long has felt a lot like, oh, well, we like this player, so that's who we're going to roll with. We liked him coming into the year. We're going to like him no matter what happens. Kind of like Zeke. Oh, Zeke, we like Zeke. We've liked him for a long time. He's going to sit out in the preseason because we like him so much. And then even though Dowdle is better than him, Elliott's a hard runner. No, none of that. Let the best back win. Let the guy that fits your offense the best win that job, and then we'll go from there. And right now, it seems like Sanders is the leader in the clubhouse. Look at these results. People are making free money. They're making thousands every month betting on sports completely risk-free. And the secret is they're using OddsJam. OddsJam isn't just another betting app. It's turning the entire system in your favor. Here's how. OddsJam uses a strategy called arbitrage, finding odds differences across sportsbook. You bet both sides, and no matter the outcome, you will profit. Here's an example. If you put $500 on Boise State to win on FanDuel and $335 on their opponent, San Francisco, on DraftKings, you're guaranteed to make $50 win or lose. It's that simple. With the OddsJam mobile app, you'll get real-time alerts on these opportunities every single day. People are making thousands monthly, and to get you started, use code Double Move for 35% off and a 7-day free trial. I guarantee you'll profit during the trial, and if you don't, cancel with one click, no questions asked. Don't leave money on the table. Go to oddsjam.com, use Double Move, and start making money the smart way. Talking about offense first, let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. Kaiir Elam, because he just keeps making plays. And I said it in my previous video, but if he keeps doing that when training camp rolls around and he keeps making plays, pass deflections, the cornerback room might actually be in a really good place. I was really worried, as a lot of other people were, I can't lie. I was worried about the cornerback room because of all of the question marks. And just no disrespect to Andrew Booth, but this secondary is toast if Booth has to start on the outside against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith in Week 1. They literally will not be able to keep pace with those guys if Booth is on the outside. The Dallas offense is not going to be able to score 45 points against Philadelphia because the cornerbacks are being cooked. So, I said it in my previous video, we're not going to talk about him for too long, but I would put Bland on the outside, find someone else to replace Jordan Lewis, who you lost in free agency, and then have, hopefully, Kaiir Elam if he can keep this up. So, maybe with him, the athleticism, the top-tier traits that he has, and then you sprinkle in a bit of confidence that he's gotten since he got to Dallas, and he might be a completely different player than we saw in Buffalo. But based on everything that I've seen so far, I'm excited. OTAs, minicamp, he's checked both of those off. There's been so much chatter about him over the past month or so, and I really hope it carries over into training camp, because if it does, the secondary might be cooking a little bit and not getting cooked Week 1 against Philadelphia. So staying on the defensive side of the ball, this is a name that hasn't been mentioned a ton, and maybe that's because of all the moves that Dallas made at the linebacker position that we just kind of forgot about Marist Liufau, probably the Cowboys' best linebacker last year, aside from DeMarvion Overshown, of course. But Liufau had a pretty solid rookie year as a third-round pick. He wasn't perfect, but he did have 1.5 sacks. He had some tackles for loss. He made a couple of plays across the middle in coverage, big hits. The positives for him as a rookie were there. And with so many guys getting hurt, that room kind of being Week 1 anyways, like, he played a ton as a rookie. And I expect him in year 2 to only get better. Zimmer used him in some blitz packages, some situational pass rush stuff. We all know that Zimmer loved the double A-gap mug. Get 2 linebackers up to the line of scrimmage, one drop back in coverage, the other blitz, or both blitz, both drop back. Zimmer did a lot of stuff with the linebackers. I don't think Eberflus is as much of a blitz-heavy guy, making those linebackers do those things, but reports from practice on Wednesday of last week said that Liufau was being used as a blitzer pretty heavily from what I read. And in a real game scenario, full speed, he would have gotten home twice when he did blitz. So maybe that's something we've kind of overlooked at this point. Eberflus is the linebacker whisperer. He's coached a lot of young, talented guys throughout his career, and maybe he has a plan for Liufau as sort of a Swiss Army knife guy that can blitz, that can cover, that can play the run. You can use him in those blitz packages, and then just let him get after the quarterback. Let him use that athleticism. So I wouldn't completely write off just yet as being an impact guy on defense. And I'm interested to really see how they deploy him during camp, how he continues to get better, how he progresses. And with Sanborn and Kenneth Murray, they've been getting a lot of first-team work. But with the way that Marist plays, the speed, the physicality, I wouldn't put it past him to win one of those linebacker spots when there are just 2 linebackers on the field. So I had to mention Marist Liufau. Once again, we don't really have a ton of videos from these practices, so I'm just going based on what I've read. Now let's flip back to the offensive side of the ball and talk about KaVontae Turpin, who is now being used as a kick returner, punt returner, running back, wide receiver. Reports from minicamp say that Turpin's been lining up in the backfield and taking snaps at running back. The Cowboys are obviously going to look at him as a potential gadget-style runner. Every once in a while he's not getting 5 carries a game. He's probably not even getting 3 carries a game. But when you get in those packages, you have certain things laid out. You could potentially use him as a running back. And then, as a wide receiver, he continues to take reps there, using him in shifts and motions and stuff. Obviously, using some of that speed that this Dallas team has needed for so long. That was one of the biggest gripes with Mike McCarthy, is I feel like he had all of these guys with different skill sets, and a lot with Jason Garrett too. He just didn't know how to use as the player that they are. He used every single wide receiver, every running back the same as if they were interchangeable, when that's just not the case. Turpin is not going to be able to do the same things as Pickens or Lamb, and vice versa. Lamb and Pickens are not going to be able to do what Turpin does. So I like the idea of using him as much as possible all over the field, add some speed to this offense. I'm not saying that Lamb is slow or Pickens is slow, but they're not 4-3 guys like Turpin is. And something I complained about with McCarthy more and more was finding ways to get Turpin the ball in space. Like, he's a kick returner, he's a punt returner, he's a guy that can read blocks, set them up, and then if he finds a crease, he can be gone. That's just something that they didn't do enough of. Now it's going to be interesting to see, is he wide receiver 3? Is he or wide receiver 4 technically, because it's probably going to be Lamb, Pickens, Ferguson, and then hopefully Kevontae Turpin. So that's an interesting development, using him as a running back, a wide receiver, trying to figure out how he fits in this offense, how he adds a different dynamic from the guys that they already have. So staying on the offensive side of the ball, guys, we got to talk about Joe Milton. Patrick Walker of DallasCowboys.com wrote this little excerpt on Milton. Milton has a cannon of an arm, and that can create issues on shorter routes at times, evidenced by an overthrow in the red zone in the second minicamp practice. But credit to the young quarterback for shaking it off and bouncing back in a big way thereafter. Milton threw 2 touchdowns after the errant pass, one to Jonathan Mingo and another to Ryan Flournoy, and the timing and location of the throws was immaculate. That is music to my ears. If you guys remember with Trey Lance, wasn't that long ago, kind of felt like when something didn't go his way, it started to crumble, especially in those preseason games that we saw. Although Lance had the big arm, he could make pretty much all of the throws. It was those shorter routes, the ball location, helping your wide receivers. That was something that he struggled with. With Joe Milton, he does struggle with those things, but it feels like he can get over the hump a little bit easier than maybe Lance did when he was here. Just having that older, more mature mindset that Milton does, being an older prospect coming out of the draft, it does a lot of good for my confidence in him if he does have to come in, if Dak misses a game or two. I'm not going to put it out in the universe that he does, but you kind of get that being able to turn it around that Cooper Rush had, just to a higher level. But then you're getting a guy with so much more athleticism, so many more traits that maybe can win you games, not just keep you afloat like Rush was, but if he makes a mistake, he can come back in and actually propel the team forward. So I am super, super excited about the quarterback 2 position this year, because we've seen some rough play from that spot for 5, 6, a decade. It's been a long time since I've felt even halfway decent about the quarterback 2 position. So that's all the guys that I wanted to talk about. And before I go, I just wanted to thank everyone for the well wishes on me getting married in my last video. Just kind of threw that one out there for you guys, and you all were very, very supportive, and I really appreciate it. Seriously. So that's all I got for you guys today. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And now that I'm back, I want to post at least one video every day, or at the very least one every 2 days. So if you guys have video ideas, players you want me to break down, I plan on doing my position breakdowns. Those just take a little bit longer, digging into the weeds. So hopefully I'll see you guys soon. Stay on track, stay on schedule. I love you all, and I'll see you next time. Bye.